Hello, everyone. I'm your host today, Ryan King. Today on the podcast, we have Max Fair and Travis Cassia. Welcome to the hall. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is our first time having two people on together, so we got a little bit of feedback noise we're working with. We also have the shop running full speed right now, so there's a little bit of grinder noise. So people that are listening, you might hear some of that in the background. So, welcome. Let's start. What trade are you guys?
We're both welders.
Okay. And do you start your trade as welders right from the get-go?
Not me, no. I started out as a plumber. I don't tell everybody that, but my dad's a plumber, fitter by trade. He's been a 170 member here for quite a long time. He bounced around with the non-union thing and then kind of came back and joined back up. And I had started working in the summertime in between grade 11 and 12 with him, and then he wanted me to come back after high school, and I did, and I did my 4 years of schooling. I did one at BCIT, one at PVC, and then my last 2 years here at the Hall. So I got my tickets at 22, and I worked for a little bit for PML and Trotter, Templeton Mechanical, quite a few companies, and then I had helped on a pipeline job in between, and I kind of just fell in love with it, and so I did that when I was like 20, that helping job, and then I came back, finished my apprenticeship, got all that done, and then I was working and I got a phone call from a fella who's a welder here, and he said, "Hey, would you like to come help me up in Dawson Creek?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I went and we were on tie-ins there, and was working with him, and we were up there for 3 months, going on 4, and he said, "You kind of have a knack for this. You're very attentive and you pay attention, and you told me that you were kind of done with the plumbing trade. What would you want to do?" And I thought to myself, well, I could transfer my hours over to the fitting side, and I never ended up doing that. I kind of just was interested in welding, and he said to me, "Well, I could probably get you into school. Let me talk to a few guys." And I came down here a week after I got home from that job, and I was signed up in my C level. I did my C and B back to back, and I haven't looked back since.
Nice. So,
right on. Yeah, it's been good.
That's so kind of a different career path, but still got to where you're at now, right? And I think the more people you talk to, everybody's got, very seldom does someone come in, especially young, and come in at the, 18, 19, 20 and be like, yeah, I'm going from here to there, right? It's usually they try something and then they see something else that maybe they're more, either they like more or it's more adventurous. Like I'm sure, high-rise plumbing versus being on the pipeline, there's two different animals.
Oh,
right?
100%, yeah. Completely different worlds.
So what about yourself, Max? How'd you get started in the trade?
I started out pretty young, just kind of screwing around. I picked up a welder, I think, for the first time when I was like 12 or 13 years old. My grandpa was a welder in the Hall, right? So third generation.
Nice.
I didn't go to school for it until I was like 20, though. I don't know why I didn't in high school. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a tradesman, but what exact path I didn't know, right? And so once I learned a little bit about it, I was working in a fab shop when I was in grade 9 or 10, and then as my first job, and then I went out pipelining when I was 19 or 20, and then same thing as Trav. I got back from that and signed up for school right away. Yeah.
You went on tour with the carnival and you were in, right?
Big time. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's from starting welding to having you got A ticket, A pressure, like what's
They've changed everything now. I didn't actually do my A.
Yeah, me neither.
That's all just like specialty alloy kind of stuff, right? I just like I said, being kind of a hobbyist at home, I played with it a little bit, and really the only thing you need it for, I think, is like one-off jobs, right? It's not very common, and that's something that is needed, right? So yeah, I just got my B done and my journeyman ticket, and yeah, that's all that I've really needed, right? So
So from being out helping, so that's kind of the, would you say that would be like kind of the entry level to the pipelines? You get out there as a helper.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the pipe trades, definitely you'd want to go out there as a helper. There's a ton of different things you can do from, if you're a fitter, you would probably go on a prep crew to start, picking up shavings and helping out wherever you could. And then, they've got preheat as well on the front end or on the back end, post heat. And yeah, I mean, pipeline wise, going out as a helper is the best seat you can have to learn for sure. You get to see it from all different aspects. I mean, they've got, mainlining where you're in a shack and you're helping on the automatics. And then, if you're usually a good enough helper, you'll stick around and go on tie-ins afterwards or vice versa.
if you're not, you end up on dingles, I guess.
Okay, Mr. Dinkles, say leaves.
Yeah. Dingles is, you got to have strong wrists for that. That's cleaning up the welds on the back end. So, yeah, I mean, there's a ton of different avenues you can go on, but being a helper, definitely if you want to be a welder or a fitter, is definitely good to see it. I mean, you're making cuts and you're watching that pipe get lowered into the ditch and fitting it up and watching, you're down there the whole time. I mean, as a helper, I was out of the truck down there the whole time.
Yeah, you definitely want to be down there learning. Not,
Yeah.
if you're, that kind of separates the two groups of people. I mean, a lot of people get into it just, for the money, and they're ambitious, 15 years of helping, right? Whatever. And then you see other guys who are down there learning, getting to know every aspect of every angle and learning the whole show, right?
Well, that's the difference, right? You see that on any different job site. There's the people that are there for the paycheck for Friday, and there's the people that are there for the career, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to build their skill set. They're trying to learn as much as they can, right? How did you find guys and girls like sharing the craft with you when you guys are kind of starting out?
So when I did my C level, I think we had 2 or 3 girls in our class, and they were really good. They paid attention, and they always say that women can be better welders than men because they have, a better attention span and better hand-eye coordination sometimes. But yeah, I mean, we've worked with a lot of women in the trades, and it's good to see them out there. A lot of them work really hard, and they want to learn and they want to be out there. You can make a career as a helper, definitely. They say when you first start helping, you go from, $100,000 a year helper to a $50,000 a year welder. So, I mean, there's definitely a career to be made in that aspect of it for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's good.
So from the point when you're out there helping and you're like, you know what, okay, I want to start putting joints together, right? What was that like? Was that like 1 year you're out helping, the next year you've come in, went to school, got your tickets, and you're out welding? What does that look like?
I guess it's different for everyone, and I guess the pay, like how busy we are with work too, right? Like right now we're really busy, and like when we both started, we went from helping shacks and bugs, or bugs in the shack, and then tie-ins as well, and kind of bounced back and forth before we started bug welding, right?
Yeah.
And then I mean, you typically start off there, right? And then move to tie-ins, right?
So I've been watching you guys out back. You guys have been welding on some pipe in the back there. You guys both have your rigs out there. What stage of the game are you like, okay, I'm gonna rig up here? Like, 'cause that's a big commitment, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a big investment and big commitment time-wise, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, after school, I got a lucky break and went out to Saskatchewan and did 280 kilometers of 36-inch on a bug. Fantastic job. And I got back and I was like, okay, I got some money here. I'm gonna, should have bought a house, thinking about it now with where we are in our lifestyle down here and the prices of everything. But I rigged up pretty much right away after I got back from that job. I had my truck already. And then I went out to Alberta and bought a skid and welder. It was all set up. I paid like 10 grand for that and slapped it in the truck and got it to where I wanted it to be and rolled with that up until just December of last year, pretty much. It was there. I didn't really use it too much, a little bit of side work here and there, fixing buckets and stuff on excavators and little things here and there, but it was just there more or less to have in case I transferred over to the commercial rig welding thing here, or
In case of local pipeline work, break glass.
yeah, right. So yeah, and then Matt, we went up to Clearwater with Bannister, did some casing work. I still had my skid set up, and then Max had built himself a deck for his truck, and I was like, I had worked off a deck truck a few times, and they're just so much nicer to work off of, right? Hopping up in the skids sucks, and changing bottles and all that. So yeah, we built one for my truck, and it's fantastic. No,
Yeah.
so
You got to make it comfortable for yourself, right?
that's right. I mean, and the nice
And
thing,
functionable. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And the nice thing about having your truck is, you know, if you're a bug welder and you're a good enough bug welder, sometimes you get to move on to the troubleshooting or the goose welding side of things, and you get a rig check for that. And, you know, you're not essentially using your truck all that much, but it's there and it's ready to go. And then kind of how it works out is, you know, if you're on the goose or troubleshooting once in a while, you'll get a stick welding opportunity towards the end of the job, and then your truck's there and you're ready to go. That's kind of how you move up the rank of breaking out onto tie-ins. You start on those bugs first and learn as much as you can, and then helping in between or whatever it may be, and then, you know, you might get lucky enough, get a call and break out.
Yeah, and that's and then it's no looking back from there, right?
No.
So you're kind of running as a, you know, business owner to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
obviously all the stuff being set up with the union, you're kind of looking after all that stuff, and then making sure your truck's running and in good condition, and you know your life's all squared away to be out of town for.
Can't be running too much of a gypsy wagon. You gotta have it somewhat together, right? But yeah, getting everything dialed in, and yeah, you're pretty much ready to go on the fly to work, right?
It was years back. I was up in just south of Fort Mac, and we were on the site, and I had a young kid with me. I was driving truck then, and the swamper was with me. He's like, "Oh, look at that guy's welding rig!" And this guy had I think it was like an F450 Harley Davidson edition, jacked, like all done up, you know, skid in the back, like nice looking truck, but tons of money, and it was like a young guy running it.
Yeah.
And right beside him was an older gentleman, had like a early 80s square body Chev with a flat deck, and it looked like it should have been out of a museum. Rig on it, and they're both welding spools side by side. And the guy's like, "Oh, look at that Ford, look at that Ford." He's you know, nice truck, right? Young kid. I'm like, the difference between those guys is that guy probably lives at home still, like with his parents.
Yeah.
That guy has probably a cottage or a lake house and a boat and, you know, whatever else, right? Because he's probably had that truck since the dawn of time, right? And looked after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look after your truck and your machine will look after you, right?
They're billing out at the same rate, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, one has payments, one doesn't, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, your truck gets shit kicked out there, and you know, the welder that I was helping at the time in Dawson Creek, he had a Chev like I have now. It was just an extra cab. I got the crew cab, right? And he said, I was like, "What do you think I should get for a truck?" Because I had an old Dodge 12 valve, wicked truck, but it was a club cab, so the extended cab didn't open up, and you know, you want to have a room in your back seat for everything, right? And he's like, "The best thing I can tell you is don't buy a truck you love." He's like, because they get ruined, right? So
You learn that as you go, right? And especially after building the deck, right? Like I got rear-ended a few months in, right? And it's just like, fuck, like put all that time and money into building it and like doing it yourself, and then, you know, something like that happens, or like you say, just having helpers, like, you know, not take care of your tools as well as you would, right? Just kind of throwing shit around, and, you know.
so we've been super fortunate last couple of years here with the work we've had locally, like in our province. Essentially, as soon as you start welding on that pipeline, you're working yourself out of a job, right? At some point, it's going to connect somewhere, and you're going to be done, right? So
Well, take the work while it's there, right? It's, you know, that's what my grandpa always told me anyway, right?
usually best day of the job is getting hired and getting laid off, right? The two best days of the job. But I mean, as it goes now, with everything being so expensive down here, you want to try and ride that out as long as you can, right? But yeah, I mean, once the job's done, there's so many different avenues as a welder you can go into, right? Like I work in a shop here once in a while in Coquitlam, and with my old man, he works there, so it's nice working with him. And then, you know, we've both done the industrial thing a little bit here and there, and yeah, you just try and stay as busy as you can.
Yeah, it's
so.
pretty busy industrial side, I think.
yeah, the industrial board's been hot. So like there's tons of work there right now for sure.
Commercial picking up too. I know when this pipeline stuff wraps up, hospitals. I guess BC's revamping all the hospitals, right? So
There right now,
right?
being a ticketed welder, you have your option, right?
Yeah.
You could probably pick something close to home, or pick a job you want to be at, right? There's so many out there.
Definitely, yeah.
So how old are you guys?
30.
I just turned 30 on February 17th, yeah.
So you guys still got a long road ahead for sure. So what do you guys see for the future? Like what's
I just had a little guy. He just turned 1 a couple days ago. So yeah, thank you. It's going good. He's lots of fun. But yeah, I kind of chased the money out of town for a while, and it was really good. I love working out of town. You kind of get away from your stuff here, but once you have a family, you kind of miss them, right? So I mean, it's nice being at home. That's why we're both trying to test for this Trans Mountain expansion here in Chilliwack and get on there. It's right in our backyard, so it'd be nice to get out there and be home every night. And I mean, other than that, 10-year plan, buy a house, and I wish I was there already, but I've got everything I could ask for other than that. So
yeah, it's you talk about rigging up or buying a house, or like there's no crystal ball, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You can't look at tomorrow because tomorrow's gone, right? You got to focus on the future. So you have your skill set, which isn't going anywhere. Obviously, you have some ambition, right? So the future's wide open, right? So being home, that's a huge, like if you can get work in your backyard, which very seldom do you, like for myself, I worked in the Lower Mainland almost exclusively. Never did I work within like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes from my house. Always the work was like 2 bridges in a tunnel, one direction or another, right? And it was like, why can't, there's just no work near my house, right? But to be doing what you guys are doing and have, the potential to, have a big spread right in your backyard, that's, being able to go home.
I mean, I'm 6 hours away, but it's still doable on a weekend, right?
Yeah.
So, but close enough. I actually got pretty lucky when I was an apprentice, and I think you bring that up with the 2 bridges in a tunnel, right? I started at Ideal once I had my C ticket, and I was in the shop for a week or two, and I got sent out to Lafarge in Abbotsford on Bradner, and I lived just on the Langley Abbotsford border, right? So it was awesome. It was like 8 to 4 we worked, and so I got to sleep in a little bit, and because all the other guys were coming from Surrey or Vancouver or whatever, right? So that was great, right?
Yeah, the travel's tough, and it wears you down, right?
Oh yeah, big time.
it's the hardest part about getting to work, right? Is driving there, waking up and getting there, right?
Yeah.
We see that, with the commercial guys working in the Lower Mainland here, like some jobs have trouble filling because just their location geographically, right? Or the lack of parking or different things. And
Parking's a big one, right? That's really big. Like you're paying to park downtown and dealing with traffic and all that, right? And I mean, I guess it's the good thing about being a commercial rig welder is you kind of there on site, right? So you don't have to worry as much about that. But yeah.
so is there anything, if you started today knowing what you know now, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go, what would you do different?
I think I would probably, I don't know, I'd probably go for that commercial rig welding side of things.
Yeah.
But, 5 years difference, that's kind of when I started. I started on that job in Saskatchewan in 2018. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a girlfriend at that time, and I don't think I'd change anything, honestly. I just wish I would have started the welding trade a little bit earlier, but I don't
I was just
regret
going to say
having
the same
that.
thing, yeah.
I don't regret having that 4 years of plumbing experience under my belt either, right? Nobody can take that away, Made my old man proud, made myself proud, got that ticket out of the way, and doing what I want to do now. So
I know.
Ticketed too, right?
Yeah, I have some friends of mine that are in the firefighting, and they all have trade tickets, And he's like, when we start, they're like, you got to have a job coming out of say high school or university or wherever. They're like, you got to do something. You can't, He's like, and even their kids are like, our kids, they're gonna take a trade of some sort just to have in their back pocket, whether they use it, whatever. It's skills they learn. Yeah. And that they're life skills, right? Whatever, if you're handy, right? I'm sure there's stuff you do every day that you learn somewhere along the way. how to hold a tool or how to do whatever. So that stuff stays with you, and you just build on those skills, whether you're going from one trade to the next or whatever, or maybe you get into management or you're a superintendent and you don't touch a tool ever again, but at least you know how those tools should be operated, you know how the job should go. You learn these things that you progress with, right? They stay with you.
Yeah, as you go along, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are in the back. So you guys are prepping right now to test. Is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah, just kind of getting a couple things dialed in. We're using this Bowler BVD 100 rod. It's like a downhand 7018. So just trying to get it all dialed in and just kind of work out the kinks, right?
When are you guys going to test next?
Hopefully the end of the month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trying to get things dialed in, get a little bit quicker, and do what we need to do. Those tests aren't easy, right? I mean, it's nerve wracking, and you got an inspector breathing down your throat or down your neck, sorry. And you got to keep the pipe hot, rods hot, everything's got to be good to go, and you got to stay within parameters, and it's not an easy thing, but.
So the procedures, would they have like a list of procedures that you would kind of read and kind of study over beforehand, and then?
Yeah, they've got, so that job has a few different procedures they're doing. They have like a casing procedure now, which is pretty wild. I mean, we were on a few casing jobs and it's like slam it together and fill it up and we'll pound it in the ground, right? But this job, they have that different procedure for different thicknesses of pipe, right? I mean, it's still the same procedure, but they're basically running 60-10 bead or root, 80-10 hot pass, and then that BVD 85 rod all the way out. And then they're doing, so if you get through that test, you get to move on to the same first three passes, so bead, hot pass, bowler, and then an uphand flux core bug, just a single head bug. And you've got to make 3 of those in a row to get onto the job. So if you fail one, you got to go back to the start. So
We in the trades, there's always like fitter welder banter and jokes back and forth, right? And all this, but when it really comes down to it, like, as a fitter, I passed my red seal, obviously you got to be able to do the job, but I don't ever get tested on my joint, right?
Honestly, you should though, right? And it was kind of cool, like you say, with the shop being so busy, just walking by there. I've always said this, that when we were in school, we should have fitters working with us, and like us working with them. That's a real life scenario, right? Like, and again, the school's done a lot out there, setting everything up like it would be in a real life situation, right? So it's good to see that, like them working hand in hand, because that's how it's going to be in the field, and we're both building our skill sets together, right?
Yeah.
So
the only thing is we never get X-rayed. We don't, like that's the part of the welding kind of career that's there's obviously a level of stress attached to that, right? There's like you do a joint at the end of the day, and if the conditions weren't ideal, or you're just like, man, it's gonna get looked at, right? And it's every you think of things in our life, right? So you get your driver's license, tested once when I was 16, done in the back pocket, and never tested again till you're whatever old or you whatever. But a lot of tickets, you get your plumbing ticket. No one's ever asked, what'd you get on your IP? There's no secondary testing, right? It's you got it, you're good to go.
pass is a pass, right? 70 is 100, so.
Exactly. So
funny, like, you can drive a forklift, you got to retest that every 2 years for some reason, right? Or even our welding tickets, right? I think it's kind of a money grab from the government, right? Like, you got to pay your inspector fee and your test fee and whatever their paperwork fees are and all that, right? So it's like you're welding all the time, and when we go to a job, you do a job test. So, right? I mean, sometimes it can be nerve-wracking, like you said, like this being newer for us, but like I remember just starting out doing the CWB plate, I was just like so overwhelmed, and it's like now keeping them up to date, I go in there and it's just like
now you can throw plate together with a rod out of the mud, and with you just looking away and just
it's all experience, but
just slap it in there and go.
Back to what you were saying on the fitting aspect of things, having a good fitter and a good prep as a welder
Oh yeah,
makes your life easy. That prep is 100%. everything, right? If you got a shitty prep or a bad fit, once you sign on to that thing, you own it. You don't own it anymore, right? So having a good fitter and a guy that you can get along with and let him know how you like it.
Yeah. Well, you got extreme ownership. Like once you tack it, you bought it. That's yours. And
So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it's the same thing in any avenue of welding or pipeline, commercial, shop, industrial. Working with a good fitter makes your life way easier.
Yeah.
So
well, you get a good crew together, and just like any work site too, right? You could be working anywhere. You could be working at Subway, and if the person beside you is miserable to work with, that's a tough day of work, right? But if you got somebody that's that's nice to work with, that's a lot of times when you're working together with some good, you don't need to talk much, right? They can see you reaching for something, so they know what you're gonna need next, right? And it's kind of a dance, right?
that's right.
Yeah, and I mean it usually does go that way. It usually flows pretty good. I don't think I've been on too many jobs where it's been like that, where you're partnered up with someone or working with a fitter who's you can't really get along with, right? It's nice thing about working in the hall, right?
That, to tie it back to the hall, that's the good thing about the brothers and sisters that we work alongside. We're all getting good wages. We're all getting the same pension. We're all getting, everybody's benefiting equally, and it just creates a nice work environment, right? It's, people have their off days, of course, right? People got things going on at home, and, especially on the road, when you're away from home a long time, there's all kinds of stressors that you don't see.
Your mental health can, take a toll for sure, right?
So for both of you guys, you're pretty young guys. You've been in the trade now, say 10 years roughly. How have you seen the welding trade progress with like technology and stuff like that? Like, are you seeing new stuff just in the 10 years you guys been doing it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, they were kind of doing cellulose for everything, which is like 80-10, 60-10 and 80-10. That's how a lot of the jobs we were on helping wise was two rods. 60-10 bead rod and an 80-10 hot pass all the way
That's
up
all there
through your
was.
fill and your cap. Now they've changed to this bowler, which is a German rod or Swedish.
Something like that,
something like that anyways. And it's just a higher tensile strength and a stronger rod, so they've been running that. And then, I mean, this uphand flux core bug thing, it wasn't really around when we first started. It was wire, like the guys were running dual shield wire uphand or downhand. And there's so many different things these contractors want on these jobs, rod wise and wire wise and all that stuff. But I mean, the scanning now, like the UT, the ultrasonic testing and the x-ray, they're picking up
It's over the
things
top,
that is, tiny.
Mosquito landed in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're it's pipeline wise, I think it's very hard to make it and to get out there and get clean welds and just be confident walking into that ditch or walking up to that pipe and being able to put a good clean weld in there. The technology for sure has definitely gotten pretty crazy, right? So
You think as if you're looking at the welding career as a whole, you got people that build brackets and containers and weld up, truck boxes or whatever, and then you have, guys like yourselves that are welding on like gas pipeline infrastructure, right? Like, so there's a huge spread, right? So you think of the quality at one end compared to the quality at the other end, right? Like that's, so the technology's there, obviously the testing is there, right?
Well, back to what you were saying about like working with people beside you, I feel like, people who are doing more manufacturing work, it's like you're doing the same thing every day in the same place, and it just becomes more of a dead end. And, personally, you're just like,
Well, we were joking about guys in the booth. They're doing their B levels, and they work in the same booth every day for however many weeks. They're comfortable with the machines, but I'm like, open up the curtain wall. Turn the fan on. Maybe turn on a sprinkler. Maybe put some water on the floor, and then don't let the joint 6G or whatever rate at eye level. Let's put it on the floor in the corner. And
definitely
let them bang that out, right? Because it's that next level. Because there's, you guys know, once you get out there, you're never gonna have
put a
that.
JLG and have it hanging off the side of the.
Exactly right. You're never gonna have that perfect joint. It's you hoard yourselves in. You do everything you can to make the inspector happy ultimately, right? And get the job done. But you know, real world, right? Like sometimes, like you see it out there. Sometimes it's just blowing, and you know, the only pipeline I've ever saw myself personally is what I drive. You know, the spreads I drive by on the highway, right? But some days you look over and you're like, oh man, those guys are soldiering today. Like it's tough today.
Yeah,
right?
we've had some bad days. That's for sure.
It's definitely not a fair weather trade, that's for sure,
No.
pipeline wise anyway. But
No.
I mean, same thing industrial, you know, that Parkland does a shutdown every year, every couple of years, and I've seen some photos. I've never been there personally, he has, but
Yeah, I
it's-
have always rainy season, right? Nothing's covered. It's all out open. No sheltered buildings or nothing,
It
right?
was funny because we were talking about that last week, and some like, oh yeah, it was, you know, the rain and the snow coming down, and for some reason I'm picturing it's all indoors. I don't know why I had that picture, but they're like, no,
You're
like,
just used to a mill or
none of it's indoor. It's all
open,
outdoor,
literally
and
all of it.
nothing's operational, so nothing's warm. Like there's nothing to like put your gloves on, or it's like you're wet from the jump. I'm like,
Yeah.
I never thought of that. I'm like, yeah, that gives me
Not an
a new
enjoyable
perspective,
job to be
right?
on.
No, but it's, you know what? That's the work, right?
Yeah.
That's the work.
it's not all unicorns and rainbows, right?
So you guys got anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having
I mean,
us.
if you want to get into the trades, definitely look into the hall here and come to school and pick what you want to do. There's a lot of different avenues and some good money to be made. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, I don't think the opportunities, the work we have on the board, you know, kind of the environment we have right now, it hasn't been like this, or at least for a very long time. Like it's
Been quite a while, yeah.
it's wild.
I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but I heard that they're paying for schooling now.
There's so there's a couple different like say for welding, there's welding foundation course. The course is right now it's 20 something weeks. You know, forgive me for not knowing the facts exactly, but it's all funded. So
Yes.
so you my understanding, you get coveralls and boots, you get your lunch every day. You get a bus ticket provided, and the course fees, and so basically you'd come out of that with your C level.
Wow.
And so for people that want to, you know, switch careers, or if if they're coming out of high school and they want to start fresh, there's so many other opportunities as well. There's a piping foundation course as well, similar deal. 6 months, you come out of it, you have some hours and your first year school already done. So whether it's plumbing or steam fitting, sprinkler fitting, so there's all kinds of options. So
Yeah, that's pretty nice because
Yeah.
I know when I did my schooling, C and B back to back, I paid for both, right? So I mean, if you're a young person looking to get into the trades, now's your time, right?
well, you'd mentioned that when you did your plumbing trade, you went to BCIT,
Yeah.
PVC,
Yeah.
and here.
That's right.
So, seeing 3 different schools, what was your take on them?
I did not like PCIT.
No.
That was so long ago. I didn't like the program there. PVC was good. We had a teacher, Ian Cornwall was his name. He was fantastic. He was an electrician and a plumber by trade.
Yeah.
Very in depth and thorough.
Yeah.
And then he was fantastic. When I came here, it was good as well. I had I believe Glenn was his name. He's not here anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, again, very smart teacher and very good. So yeah.
Yeah, I always like I like to hear people's perspective when they have, you know, a different view, right? Like myself, I went to school here,
Yeah.
all 4 years, right? So I can't gauge, you know, it's only what I've heard or what I see, right? So what we're gonna do before we go is I got a list of questions I'm gonna ask you guys. This is gonna be like the hot seat. So I'm gonna ask you a list of questions, and you guys are just gonna answer. You can answer at the same time, which is the first thing that comes to your mind. All right.
Right.
So we're gonna start off here. Number 1, 155 or first class room in 70?
155
Yeah.
Days or nights?
days.
Dodge, Chev, or Ford?
Chef.
I already knew that answer with you guys. Stick or TIG?
Stick.
Red or blue?
Red.
10s or 12s?
12s. 10s and paid for 12s.
Full pull or dragging up?
Dragon
Black or double double?
double.
Bowler or Lincoln?
Bowler.
Up hand or down hand?
Down hand.
So this one's grinding discs specifically. Walter or Jet?
Walter.
I don't think I've ever even used a jet disc.
Uh,
This ain't no Lord Code show.
Overhead or flat?
Flat.
Bottom side.
That's an easy one. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. I know you guys are out back.
Yeah,
Just working, training,
Yeah.
prepping.
whatever you want to call it.
But we want to thank you for coming in and sitting with us today. And
Yeah.
good luck on your guys' test. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
good luck with the rest of your guys' careers. And I'm sure we'll see you around the hall.
You bet. Thank you kindly for
You
having
betcha.
us.
Yes, thank
Thanks,
you very
guys.
much.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. If you like what you heard or what you watched today, if you watched it on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It helps us grow the show. And have a good day. Thanks.